We'll just give everyone just a few minutes and then we'll get started. Wait for everyone to get settled and then we'll get stuck into it. Yeah. How's your day going, Gavin?
It's a very nice sunny day in Sydney. I've had to turn the air conditioning on, which is keeping me nice and cool, but pretty good, pretty busy. Last day of the month.
Sounds good. Yeah, it's definitely cooled down here from yesterday. We had nearly 40 degrees here in Melbourne yesterday. So yeah, it's nice to definitely get a little bit of a cool change. This weather though, it's typical Melbourne, up and down.
Yeah, well, it's beautiful in Auckland, New Zealand today.
That's good. Very nice.
In the mid-20s.
Good to have the sun out, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, everyone, we'll get started. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining our webinar brought to you by Annexa. And thanks for carving out some time in your day to join us. We're excited to kick off our latest partner webinar with Zone&Co. Many of you have joined our webinars in the past. We're very keen to continue to show you the latest NetSuite offerings and as well the fantastic partner solutions that complement NetSuite. So today with Zone&Co, we're diving into the key theme of Future Proofed Payroll. Just a little bit of housekeeping. So we will be taking questions and we will do Q&A at the end of the session. So feel free to pop some questions in the chat box, which is on the right-hand side. If you do want a little bit more real estate with your screen, feel free to close that chat box as you're going and we can, do some Q&As at the end of the session. So we'll just do some quick intros and then we'll get started. So I'm Renee, Customer Success Manager here at Annexa. I've been looking after our Victorian-based clients for predominantly 2 years. And I work closely with our solution partners to ensure our customers' needs are met as they grow and expand. So over to you, Gavin, to do a quick intro because we've got the great team here from Zone&Co.
Hi, everyone. Gavin Niels. I'm the sales manager for Zone&Co with a focus on payroll. I'm based in Sydney. I've been with the company for just over 6 months, but you could say that I'm a NetSuite enthusiast. I've spent about over 12 or 13 years working in the NetSuite ecosystem. Really pleased to have you on the call today. Thank you.
Hi, and I'm Anton Self. I'm the VP for Asia Pacific for Zone&Co. Formerly one of the founders of Infinite Cloud, which is what our payroll module initially was. And so I was being busy selling and developing payroll over that time. And I'm looking forward to take you through our payroll product today.
Thanks, guys. So just a quick intro on our partnership with Zone&Co. So Annexa's goal is always to ensure our customers' business processes are set up to enable growth and efficiencies. This requires us to partner with best-of-breed solutions that we're confident in recommending. We've partnered with Infinite, now Zone, for a number of years, and I'm excited to see what's to come now that we're under the banner of Zone. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Gavin and Anton to do the presentation. So over to yourself, Gavin. Just on mute, I think.
Yep, thank you. So again, really appreciate your time today. I hope everyone's having a fantastic start to their 2014. It's only February, but it feels like it's been a much longer year already. As Renee mentioned, we really appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedules today, particularly at end of month. So the first question I think people usually ask is, who is Zone Payroll? So we were previously Infinite Cloud Solutions, recently been acquired by Zone&Co, so we're now Zone Payroll. We're established in 2010 when a group of long-standing NetSuite employees, including Anton, who's our founder, realised that there was a slight gap in the market for payroll requirements on the NetSuite platform. Since 2010, we've grown to over 700 customers using payroll with us. Our customers range from anywhere between 10 employees through to thousands of employees. As a solution, every single month, we process payroll for over 80,000 individual employees. Okay. Today, for this webinar, we're really focusing on the ANZ region. We do have other jurisdictions, the UK, Canada, and of all places, Papua New Guinea. And we also offer a generic solution. So if that's of interest, do let us know and we can start to explain that as well. And for the Australian customers specifically, we have Single Touch Payroll version 2, which all of our customers are on, as well as a ClickSuper partnership for your clearinghouse requirements for superannuation. One thing I do want to make clear is we're 100% native to the NetSuite platform. So there's no integration, there's no duplication of data, there's not two systems. So secondly, why Zone Payroll? So why us? And probably more importantly, why do our customers choose us as the right solution for them? Some of the things we hear is that they want a solution that meets their compliance needs in Australia and New Zealand. So any changes to legislation, that's a service that we manage. Changes to payroll tax tables, state-based holidays, all of those sorts of things come as part of our service offering. They wanted and needed more transparency. So rather than having two systems, they really wanted everything in one place. So your finance teams aren't logging into two different applications. You get all the detail within NetSuite. They wanted to remove manual processes and integration to other systems. So if you think of file changes and file uploads. And they also wanted to reduce the duplication of data. So you're not having employees in two different systems and a general ledger of sorts in two different systems. So the third slide I have is really, what does this mean for you? And what does this really mean for you? It means that you can, with our solution, process all of your payroll within your NetSuite environment. I like to think of that as sweating your NetSuite investment or your NetSuite asset. You can report on everything using NetSuite standard reports and save searches. So again, leveraging the existing investment you've made in the NetSuite platform. Your teams can save time. So with things like Single Touch Payroll, as I mentioned, and you don't have any sort of complexity as it relates to your technology architecture ecosystem where you've got multiple different systems for payroll and your finance system, everything is in one place. So again, in summary, and I know you love me to go through more slides, but in summary, we're really here to help you get more out of your NetSuite asset. It's easy for me to talk about these things through slides, but the great thing is that you can now see it and see how it works via a live demonstration.
Great, over to you, Anton.
All right, thanks everybody. Let me just share my screen here. I'm assuming we can see my screen okay. Okay, so as you can see, I have logged into NetSuite here. And when you log into NetSuite, as you all know, you log in with a role. I'm logging in here with a payroll administrator unlocked role. That is one of the roles that we provide when our payroll module is installed inside of your NetSuite account. It ensures that the person who's processing pay inside of NetSuite has access to obviously all of the payroll related records, but also to the relevant NetSuite records that they need to interact with in order to do that processing and posting inside of your NetSuite account. And when you log into NetSuite, you're going to see a dashboard. This is something we configure with you as part of implementation as well. But by way of example, you can see I have a bunch of different reminders here on the left-hand side, things like pending terminations, unprocessed time by employee, leave request pending approval. Basically those things that payroll need to check during the day-to-day course of their role and prior to processing pay. We'll make sure that they are set up as handy links on your navigation on your dashboard. You can also see I've got some navigation shortcuts with some quick links to different types of reports around pay reports, employee reports, leave reports, and super reports. I have a leave calendar showing here. So as part of our payroll, we also have a leave management module as well. So you can see when people are on leave, all of those leave things flow through into the payroll process as well. I have a payroll scorecard down here showing some different payroll metrics. It's quite easy to look at these things in different ways, look at it monthly, quarterly, get a side-by-side year-on-year comparison. And typically I like to point out at this point that there's nothing all that clever that we're doing with this. It is one of the benefits of having all of that payroll data inside of NetSuite, all of NetSuite's powerful functionality around reports, dashboards, alerts, reminders can be run across your payroll data because it is now inside of NetSuite. And the other thing I just want to show before we start drilling a little bit more into the employee record and how we can do other things for payroll is our expanded payroll menu. Typically, this is not something you're going to see on the dashboard, but there's a few key things that I want to highlight here. You'll see we've got some payroll activities, quick links to starting a new pay run, links to entering one-off pay details. So you can enter ad hoc things that may need to be paid or deducted from the employee as they become available, entering time, approving time. So there's quick links for that. You can see some pay reports here now too, different pay reports. A very commonly customized report that we have, and as you notice, there's customized here. So these are built on NetSuite Save Searches. We often customize this report with our customers to make sure that the variations that you see in pay are highlighted, so that when you're reviewing pay slips at approval and want to understand why there's a difference between the current gross or net pay in the current period, it's very easy for you to look at it because you'll have the reports that you need around that. There's also reports around leave management, looking at leave requests which may require approval. We also have a leave block within here. So if you ever have a company-wide or a departmental shutdown over Easter or Christmas, let's say, you can put everyone on bulk leave. Down here, there's also some specific New Zealand reports. If you've got employees in New Zealand, New Zealand has some specific great ways of calculating annual leave, so we cater for all of that type of stuff and compliance within our system as well. Then there's some more leave reports here, which are looking at things like your leave liability, employees' leave entitlements, and those types of things. And then there's another section here with a lot of detailed Australian reports too. So we have got reporting around FBT here, and so that means that if you do have employees with FBT requirements, that can be captured on the employee and then reported via SDP as part of the end-of-year processes. And then there's a whole section on here around SDP reporting as well. Then we have a bunch of different super reports. Under that super section, there's also a payroll remittance. So we have an integration to ClickSuper, which I think Gavin mentioned in the intro. Once you've processed all the pay inside of NetSuite, you can run that remittance and we can automatically send that information to the super funds on your behalf. And then there's a bunch of different tax-related reporting, including those reports that you need to run for state payroll tax reporting. What I'll do now is jump across and have a look at the NetSuite employee record. This should all be familiar to you, so I don't need to describe that all this header information is standard NetSuite. But when our payroll module is installed inside of your NetSuite account, what you're going to see is some additional tabs on the employee to categorize them for payroll purposes. So you'll have the payroll tab, tax, super, leave, and the bank details here. And I just want to run through some of the key things here. You've got your employee's employment status, so they're full-time, part-time, casual. These are customizable statuses too. How are you paying these employees? Are they salary or waged? If they're wage, you can also specify that they are paid from NetSuite time, which means if you've got people who work different work patterns, you can set that box and then we'll look purely for timesheets for those employees and pay them on that basis. Otherwise, the default behavior is that employees are paid their standard wage or salary for the period, and then it's adjusted for things like leave, public holidays, potentially overtime if they have them. You've also got your payroll state. Now that's going to be important for state payroll tax reporting if you're in Australia. It's also important for the leave management side of things. We maintain all of the state public holidays and they automatically flow through into our leave process and onto the employee's pay slips. Around that as well, you've got a leave request working week. This allows you to define a working pattern for your employees in terms of hours per day that they work, or start and end times on those hours as well. And that flows through into the leave and accrual process too. Then we have some posting information. This payroll balance sheet account is where the employee's net pay is going to go to. If I drill into that, we're just looking directly at the NetSuite GL. Most of these fields that I'm showing you will default when you create a new employee from your payroll configuration. So then it's just a matter of changing where you've got a variation. Down here as well, we have a payroll expense allocation. Now, what this allows you to do is to set up different mappings for different groups of employees between their pay types and the GL codes. The classic example being you've got employees who are in the cost of goods sold area of the GL in terms of their costs. So we set up a mapping for that. Then you might have employees who are in head office and below the COGS lines. So they have a different mapping in terms of those pay types, the GL codes. And that just ensures that we have accuracy of posting inside of NetSuite and simplifies the setup and configuration on an employee. The next tab here is your tax info. So all of the standard TFN type information is captured here, and other information that you need to report to the ATO around the employee's tax profile, and also what drives how they are taxed in the system. And down here, as I mentioned in the reporting area, there's also a section where you can record FBT for your employees too. On the superannuation tab, you're going to see the employees' contributions and thresholds all set there. We're maintaining the statutory minimums, but you can adjust those if you need to, as long as those are above those minimums. And down below, you can see the super fund information that is going to be used in the integration. Or if you don't want to use the integration, you can alternatively have an upload file using that same data. Then on the leave tab, you're going to see the employees' different leave entitlements for annual leave, sick leave, long service leave. You can see this employee happens to be in New South Wales, so they have the New South Wales leave entitlement. You'll be able to see what their availability is, what their anniversary dates are, long service leave proratas. These pieces of information can also be used for your posting of the liability into the GL as well. And we've got a full history here of everything that's accrued or taken for that employee. That happens as part of the posting stage on the pay run too. And you can also make manual adjustments from here too. If you have additional leave types that you want to create accruals for, that's no problem as well beyond the 3 standard leave types. Then we have our payroll bank details. So this is where you'll see one primary bank account and multiple secondary bank accounts for a fixed amount for your employees. And there's one other a couple of other important records that I want to show you, which are linked to the employee. And that's what we call the employee pay component. So this is where you set up all those things that you pay or deduct from the employee. So that would be their standard rate of pay, that could be bonuses, that could be deductions. Those deductions can be done on a percentage basis. You can set a range amount on those deductions as well. And it's the same thing if you're doing salary sacrifice. You can have percentage salary sacrifice, pre-tax and post-tax deductions, and cater for things like novated leases. We cater for all of that as part of this pay component setup and configuration. I'm just viewing all the current ones, but there's also a full history of all of these maintained as well. So you can always see what previous entitlements were. And one of the other benefits when we're talking about kind of seeing history and auditability is because we're inside of NetSuite, every payroll change that happens is logged in NetSuite system notes. And that means that you can always see when something changed, who changed it, what they changed it from and to, and you can also create reporting around that as well. And then one other thing we've got here is a payroll expense reallocation. So this allows you to set up a percentage reallocation for people's payroll costs. That could be done to a department, a class, location, even intercompany. We can do that as well. And that's just a secondary process that we run.
Anton, just a quick question that's come through.
Yes.
Regarding long service leave. Do we manage it in weeks as well as hours?
It's tracked at the lowest form in hours, but the accrual is based on the number of weeks that they have. So when you actually come into that leave side of things, you'll see the different entitlements based on the actual weeks that they have for the different states.
Thanks for your question, Paul.
Cool. And the other thing I'm just going to show you now on the employee, since we are looking at ANZ here too. So if you have employees in New Zealand.
Anton, we've just lost your screen.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just dropped off.
Just share that again. Is that back now?
Yep.
Sorry about that. So I'll just go to that. We can see the New Zealand employee now here, I think. So on the, if you have employees in different countries, pretty much most of the stuff that I was showing you already is the same. But if we were to look at the tax info, we're going to see the New Zealand tax related data. If I was to look at the superannuation information, then you see the kind of New Zealand KiwiSaver information. So all of that kind of thing between different countries can run seamlessly. Also, if you ever have employees in the UK, Canada, Papua New Guinea, Singapore, we can cater for that as well. So what I'm going to do now is just take you through the steps that we have in running the payroll process. So the first of those steps is to actually initiate the pay. So when you come in to initiate a pay, it'll be defaulted to a standard pay run. The employees, the pay run will default to period start and end date based on your last standard pay, but that could be changed up and down as you wish. You'll then see a list of all your employees and some basic setup information. So you can review that and make sure that they're configured correctly, make sure their super funds set up, make sure they have a base rate of pay and an hourly rate set up, make sure that the bank account is in place too. You can also set up an adjustment run. So let's say you've already processed a pay for a period and you've got a bonus to pay, or maybe you have some employees on timesheets and their timesheets were missed and you had to pay them in that same period. You can choose it to be an adjustment run, say use period data, and then what that means is we're going to calculate the tax and the super on a cumulative basis, factoring what's already been paid in tax for that period. Most cases, it'll just be a standard pay run. Once you submit that pay run, it's going to create a pay run record to manage the overall process, and then we move through a series of steps to process the pay. The second stage in the pay run is where you review time. So as part of this, what you're going to do is you'll see a line per employee with their pay types against them. So most commonly, you'll see a normal timeline for your employees, maybe a public holiday line, potentially some leave coming through on here. So at this stage, payroll is just reviewing and submitting and adding those time records to the pay run for processing. Then we have a variable stage. And so at this variable stage, this is where you can set up different pay components for your employees and flag them as variable. They then get pre-populated based on the quantity and rate and total that you've set. And then payroll can just come through here and enter quantities or confirm amounts to add those payments that change from period to period or deductions onto the pay run. The final step before processing is really an ad hoc data entry stage. At this stage, you can just choose an employee, choose a pay or deduction type that you want to do for them, enter a quantity, rate and total, adjust the total, potentially adjust some of your posting amounts and just add those things to the pay run for processing. I'm showing you this happening as part of the standard payroll process, but if you wanted to do this prior to running the pay, there's just another option on the menu where you can enter those things as you become aware of them. Of course, they can also, ad hoc types of payments can also be imported via CSV using NetSuite standard CSV processes. But once you've done those steps, we process the pay, and when we come to a screen where we're actually going to review and approve and finalize the pay. So at this approval screen, what you're going to see is a list of all the employees on the pay run. You're going to see some information around their gross pay and gross variance, and that's a comparison against their last standard payslip to the current payslip that's being processed. Same with this net pay, net variance, and you can see some summary totals here that you can review. At this point, you can drill into those payslips some more and actually make some changes if you need to. You might also have been running a more detailed comparison report that we would have customized with you as well. This data that we're seeing here can also be exported to Excel if you need to as well. But if you want to drill into the actual payslip information in detail, you can click on the payslip. Then you will see all the lines that that employee is being paid. Over here, yep.
Just a quick one.
Yep, stop. I did that again.
Yeah, it was just on the run payroll screen.
Yeah. Let me just jump back. Approve, share. We're on the right place again?
Yep.
Yeah, all right. So you can, I'll just start that again in terms of what we're actually looking at here. So we can see a list of all of those employees, the gross pay, gross variance, net pay, net variance here, other summary totals across the top. As I said before, up here, there's an export to Excel function. And when I drill into the payslip, and I will share this now, you can see the details of the actual payslip that's on the employee here. So all the different pay lines, you can see the P&L account, the balance sheet account here. There's also vendors associated with that. So that's all going to roll up into how we're actually posting this. If you wanted to make adjustments, let's say, for instance, you realize that one of these overtime lines was incorrect, and that should have actually been 12 hours, you can come in here, make that edit, and then just do a recalculate all for that particular payslip, and then that will do that recalculation. Returning back to the approval screen to actually do the finalization. So once you've made those last minute adjustments, it's here where you're actually going to finalize the pay. And so to do that, you choose the bank account that you're going to pay it out of. You can override some of the posting dates and bank file dates. You enter a reference note here as well. That's going to appear on your ABA file that we generate. You've also got options to have designated approvers, so someone separate to the actual payroll processor can actually come in and process that pay. But once you're ready to approve it, you set those dates, as I said, click approve, and when you do that, the system is going to do a whole bunch of things to finalize the pay. I will, and it's also going to bring you to this STP validation screen. So at this STP validation screen, you're going to see all the information for STP that you can review. You can export that to Excel if you want. Most cases, you're just going to be accepting this and then sending it. That then goes into a queue inside of your NetSuite account, and that is picked up and sent to the ATO automatically on the pay date. And if we jump and have a look at now the actual finalized pay run here, the other things that have happened as part of that finalization, and you can see at the top here, we've moved through these steps of initiating time and variables, processing, approval, post pay and report. Then automatically generates the posting journal for all of the expenses and liabilities associated with the pay. It generates a payment transaction that's applying the employee's net pay plus any suppliers that you choose to pay at the same time for deductions that have occurred on the employee. You will have an ABA file that you can download. There's a full PDF version of that as well. Individual PDFs are also created for the employees. And as well as that, you can just click here and have a look at the journal that we've generated. And so you can see here, I've got a journal that's a summarization of all those different lines. We've got all our debits up here. Down the bottom here on the journal, we've got all of the credit information. And so you'll see some of those credit information is actually going to the different tax authorities or different suppliers that you need to make the payments to. Okay, so I guess that was the key stuff that I did want to show to you all today. Did we have any other questions that
yes,
other things?
Thanks, Anton. That was great. We did have a couple of questions come through, so I'll just read those out. If I'm looking to change my payroll provider, what are some key considerations when looking for a new system?
I guess one of the key things is always about timing and why you're changing your payroll provider. Obviously, I'm slightly biased in thinking that it makes a lot of sense to have all of that information inside of NetSuite. You can see there's a lot of granularity here. We often find that for our customers, especially around this time of the year, that there's a push to make that cut over at a 1 July timeframe, because that just makes things easier for you in terms of implementation, because you don't need to bring in year-to-date information. But in saying all of that, we bring customers live at all times, and so we're happy to work with anyone do that at any time of the year.
Okay, great. Just another one. How long does an implementation usually take?
Yeah, so an implementation, our standard length is typically 4 to 6 weeks. And we have a very hands-on process that we have and run with you. And so obviously that 4 to 6 week is not effort, that's duration. So the first thing we'll do once we've kind of agreed on commercials will be to install our payroll module inside of your NetSuite account. We run a configuration wizard where you decide all the preferences and how you want it to behave. And very soon after that, we go into actually manually setting up and configuring employees to do a pilot with you. And that's to give you comfort with how the system is functioning and how it's working. And then we move through a series of steps around the data migration, training. It's very hands-on, so we do need dedicated time from your payroll staff to work through these things, because it is kind of training and doing at the same time. And once we've done the parallel runs, done any other custom configuration that you need or customization of reports, then we would bring you live with our team.
Great, thanks. And just one more. Is there a limitation to the number of employees you can manage?
No, there's no real limitation. I think our largest customer that we have pays around 4,000 employees every week. So I guess because it's built on NetSuite, our payroll is scalable like NetSuite is.
Excellent. All right. Well, there's been some fantastic information there. Thanks, Anton. Oh, yes.
Sorry, there were a few other questions that have just popped up in the chat. So the first one is, how are timesheets entered? Also, is there a clock on, clock off system available for Zone Payroll?
Yeah, so there's two ways of entering timesheets. You can enter timesheets via the NetSuite Employee Center. We also have our own employee portal, which we call MyPay, which allows you to enter timesheets. That employee portal also has time interpretation capability, so we can calculate overtime as well. So, Kevin, what was the other part of that question?
A clock on, clock off.
Oh, yes. Yes. And so, yes, we do have some options for clock on, clock off. We do have an iPad app where employees can start a clock, stop the clock, enter a code, have a photo taken as well, and also within our MyPay employee portal. So there's the iPad app. There's also a start and stop the clock functionality within that portal as well.
Yeah, and then a secondary part of the question is whether a NetSuite license is required for users to access leave and timesheets.
Our MyPay portal is a hybrid application, which means that it sits outside of NetSuite. So in order to use that, you don't need an employee center license for all of your employees. We have one requirement for one full access user to do the integration. And then MyPay itself has its own licensing model.
Sorry, there are a couple of other questions that are popping up, and Tanu, I will get back to you. Just Vance has asked the question, does the employee portal allow employees to view and apply for leave, plus
Yes.
approval from the manager?
Yes, it does. And that approval, there's an approval hierarchy on the employee that we can cater for. If you have more complicated approvals, because all this information is two-way synced with NetSuite, we can actually use the power of NetSuite workflow around our approvals too, if you have that type of requirement. We also have within that leave approval, a leave approval routing, which basically can detect that a manager's away and shuffle that approval to someone who is available to approve it. And you can have designated approvers as well.
And a bit of a follow-on to this conversation, the clock on and clock off app, which is MyPay, isn't enabled to easily get the timesheet data to MyPay and back to NetSuite. I think you've sort of answered that already, but
yes, that happens automatically.
Yep. We also have another question. If all employees are not getting their pay slips, how can we ensure the pay slips are emailed to the respective employee addresses.
So in terms of emailing how you deliver payslips to employees, on the employee record, you can specify the method in which they're going to get it. So you can say they're going to pick it up online, or you can say they're going to be emailed. And in terms of employees to be emailed, we use their NetSuite email. We use an email for payslips field. So it doesn't necessarily need to be the email, the standard NetSuite email. You just click the email payslips button here, and then that will allow you to email out the payslips to those people that are designated with emails as you're seeing here. Oh, maybe that's not sharing actually, sorry. I had to stop sharing there. But yes, yeah.
Thanks, Anton. Thanks for all the questions. That was great. And yeah, it's been great having you all join us today. And if you want to get in touch with us and chat to the guys at Zone&Co further, please feel free to reach out to myself or your customer success manager at Annexa. So yeah, thanks for joining, and we'll see you soon.
Great. Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.